Now, we talk a lot about gear on this channel, multi-tools and pens and fixed blades, and of course folding knives, and even ways to carry much of that gear. But today is all about core EDC, the three major items that pretty much everyone has, no matter who you are, regardless of what part of the journey you're in, you're looking at having these three things. And I will tell you, the time spent figuring this out has been really helpful and has made everything else just works so much better. And that's what we're going to talk about: keys, wallet, and phone. Now, one of the things you might notice about pretty much all of my content is you'll never see a cell phone anywhere. And the reason is because that is the device I use to film each and every video you see on this channel. It's also where I do all my editing, emails, you name it. It's mostly done on the go with my cell phone. I use an S23 Ultra with 512 gig of RAM. That's not really that important. I'm not a tech channel. I'm not going to go into the differences between phones. We're talking about what is the rest, but it is important to note that the phone is probably the most essential tool that you have at your disposal, and in many ways has replaced a lot of functions of your wallet and your keys. Some people actually use their phone to unlock their cars, their houses, and so on. I'm not one of those people, but it just further proves how important it is as a tool. Now, when it comes to wallet, you guys have seen this before. This is the Murphy wallet from Patriot Leather Goods, and it is my favorite leather wallet that I have ever used. It's not even close. And I love that it not only functions perfectly, it's also really reasonably priced. I'll put the listing right here. And on average, this thing is like around that $50 price for a USA-made leather wallet, which is really, really good. Now, this is handmade, and I'm trying to remember which state he is living in, but it is fantastic. It has two cards on the outside, one stitch, pretty much holds the entire thing together. And the thing about it, because it has rounded corners on three sides, it's using the maximum capacity on the inside. So it takes up very little space, and yet it can store a lot of stuff. Now, I carry cash, and it can do it bifolded, which is one of my favorite things about it. I have a bunch of cards on the inside, and it can still have space for more. I have this, which is a pair of flashcards that are kind of locked into each other, and then I also have my pen. Now, let me go over this briefly. I've tried a lot of different notebooks. I have a lot of different notebooks. I go back and forth regularly, but I have basically given up. And the only solution that has worked, that has stayed with me, is using a combination of a large notebook organizer that I'll sit down and work on, and then flashcards when I'm just trying to jot things down on the fly, or ideas, or things I want to talk about in a video, whatever it happens to be, it goes on one of these. Now, I've set it up so that basically you cover half, you use half each time, and then you flip it around and use the other half. So what will happen, let me do this the right way. So what I'll do is I'll start with the first half. I'll do the first half of each card, 1, 2, and then I'll slot them into each other again in the opposite direction, fill in the other side, and then reverse it again. So I basically get 8 little sections to work with. And what I'll do is I'll actually lay these out when I decide to kind of collect all my ideas and see what is actually fruitful. I find that flashcards, being the transition to a full-size notebook, is the best solution I have ever found, and is the one I have been able to stick with pretty much the entire time. Now, I could use the S23 Ultra pen and I could write on the phone, but I have not found that to be as good because I tend to get distracted every single time I open my phone. So that's the wallet, and it works incredibly well. Like, it is without question my favorite wallet that I've ever tried. I've tried, hard wallets. I've tried groove wallets. You name it. I've tried a ton of wallets, but nothing has been as good as the Patriot Leather Goods Murphy. That's the wallet. Now, keys. I have spent a lot of time hating keys. Oh my goodness. I hate keys in general. I don't even really want to carry them. I prefer not to. I'm still working on trimming that down. But for now, I have them, so I want to be able to carry them in a comfortable way. And this is probably my favorite so far of all the key solutions that I have come across. Now, I got this in January when I was at SHOT Show. They handed me one and said, give it a shot. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And I did. And I will tell you, it is by far my favorite one. First of all, $20, great price. And then on top of it, I've added this $20 modular flashlight. Now this flashlight has a low, a high, and then it has lights on the side. Now if I bring it on, I can just hold press to turn it off. It's a very simple UI. It is a Type-C charging port, which is really, really great. That's an upgrade from the past gen. And a lot of times, this is all I actually need. And paired with the other items on the table, it's basically everything we talk about in everyday carry, kind of in a nutshell, like shrinking it all down to just these very small standard things that everyone carries. In addition to this key organizer, which works fantastic, the little locking screw is genius. I've never had these fold out on my own. I also have these two items as well. Now we'll take my key out of the way for the car. These are the other two things that have stayed on my keys since I got them. Now, this one is less important. This, on the other hand, is probably my all-time favorite keychain tool that exists, period. It's $30. It is made by Lever Gear. It has a pry tool. It has a Phillips head driver. It has a utility knife blade built into it, which I absolutely love. And it also has a magnetic bit driver, some graduations for measurements if you want to use it for that, but it's also incredibly compact and light. So this combined with this gives me a cutting edge, a pry tool, a plier, a scissor, a screwdriver, Phillips and flathead, bottle opener, just a ton of different functions. And this entire thing can go on a plane. All I have to do is take out this blade. Now the way I do that is open up this little small flathead, flip this over, and then let me see if I can do this on camera. There we go. And then pop that out, easy as it goes. And then I can find one X-Acto blade pretty much anywhere, no matter where I go. And even then, it's still pretty useful. It's a 1/4-inch bit driver. It's still a Phillips and flathead driver. And then when you combine it with this bladeless multi-tool, the Next Tools Mini Sailor Light, I have my ideal setup. This is essentially a lot of the things we talk about, but in a miniature form, right? My keys kind of fulfill that role, along with the wallet, which has the pen and the notebook. There are many times nowadays where I will walk out without basically anything but these, right? And my phone, of course. Now, in the past, when I was working various different jobs, I would use holsters with multi-tools, flashlights, and you name it. I'm also one of those people that carry a fixed blade regularly, especially if I think they're going to get dirty and like I'm doing food prep, whatever it happens to be. I will also sometimes sub in a one-handed multi-tool, so something that can deploy a blade one-handed like this one. That's something that I will actually do as well. But at the core of EDC is just these three items. And if you make them enjoyable, if there's something that doesn't cause you annoyance, everything's going to go better from there. That's what I found. Like, I really just carry whatever I feel like on top of these items because they tend to do such a good job at basically everything that I want them to do. They provide a bit holder. If I want to do something, I have bits all over the place that I can use. I have a small pair of pliers, which I have also modified to be a little bit more precise. So they work kind of like tweezers. It does just about everything I need. This is my favorite core EDC. And as of right now, I have not seen any reason to change it. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about today. Consider nailing these things before you worry about the knife or the flashlight or any other component, because I tell you, keys, wallet, they tend to be the thing that annoys people. But when you find the right item for you, oh man, it really reduces that friction. As always, thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.